Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Rosten's Reviews. I am your host, Mr. Rosten, 6th grade social studies teacher, Cluster 6-1, BMS. How's everybody doing today? I'm glad to see you all here in the chat. Welcome. We've had a wonderful week for week 17, 23 weeks until summer vacation, until you're chilling on the beach, soaking in that sunshine, getting that vitamin D, and I am so glad to be here. Oh man, my camera is off. Let's try moving it this way. Does that work any better? No? Maybe? Alright, we'll leave it. I'm a little off center. How about this way? I don't know. Alright, here, we moved it. No, it's not working. This is not working for me. Alright, anyway. Welcome back. I'm glad to see you. So, this week, we finished up Hammurabi and Hammurabi's Code, and it certainly was an adventure. All right? So today, what we are going to do is we're going to do a quick little unit overview and kind of figure out what happened with Mesopotamia. What did we learn? You know? Was Hammurabi's Code just or unjust? Just a few things that we are going to go over. So, let's take a look at what we did. Whoops, that's the wrong one. There we go. All right, so here is what we did in social studies and what we learned with ancient Mesopotamia. So, we started off with an Ed puzzle, and you got some background information about what life was like in ancient Mesopotamia. We then started off with some vocabulary, and we learned words like city-state and monotheism and polytheism, right? And we use those words throughout our unit, especially when we got to Hammurabi's Code, okay? Then we went over some geography. So let's take a look at what some geographic features we learned about. All right, we learned about the Tigris and Euphrates River, right? We learned how the Mesopotamians used the both rivers to not only travel and for food, but we learned that they used it for transportation as well. They were able to ship goods from the north to the south or the south to the north, and we learned that it flooded every year between April and June, and when it flooded, it would leave that really rich soil, right? It would leave that silt there, okay? So we learned about the Tigris and Euphrates. We learned about the Fertile Crescent and how the crescent is shaped like a moon, right? Like a crescent moon, right? And we learned that it was this luscious green grass, okay? There was the nice green grass in the soil in order for the Mesopotamians to grow their crops, okay? We learned about the Zagros and Taurus mountains. We learned that this had both positive and negative effects. The positive effects, it protected the city-state, right? It protected the people from invaders. However, the downside or the negative was that it made traveling difficult, right? It made trade a little more difficult, and that is a problem when you don't have the necessary goods or the natural resources that you need in order to survive. So, both positive and negative. The Arabian and Syrian deserts. We learned again how the deserts provided protection, right? Awesome. However, On the other side, again, it made traveling more difficult and trade more difficult, which meant getting those natural resources was hard. Okay? The Persian Gulf. We learned about the water and we learned about how they used it for trade, which is awesome. And it also provided food in the form of fish, which is also an excellent thing. That was the last but not least. All right, so we annotated these slides, right? We found that important information using our orange highlighter, and we highlighted the important information. And then we worked on our peel paragraphs, because as you know, Thursday and Friday, we wrote peel paragraphs. We answered the HIQ, okay? So we worked on those two things. So, just to recap, vocabulary, some words we learned. City-state. Okay, monotheism, my pen's not working. Polytheism, just to name a few. I can't spell, that should be ISM. Okay, geography, we learned about the major bodies of water. And we learned about the landforms. Gee, this thing is not working. We learned about mountains, deserts, and the Fertile Crescent. All right, so now the big thing on our list, Hammurabi's Code, was it just or unjust? So, this HIQ, historical investigation question, we looked at Hammurabi's Code and we needed to figure out whether or not it was fair or unfair. So we looked at a bunch of different codes. So let's take a look at some of the codes that we learned about. So give me a second. Let me just open this up. Boom. All right. So we looked at all different types of laws, but specifically we looked at family laws. And man, this thing is slow. We looked at property laws. And we looked at, keep going, personal injury laws, right? So we took a look at these laws. We read the actual laws. Remember, we just got them translated into English, so this is how they were actually written. We wrote the gist or a summary of it, and then we had to decide whether or not it was just or unjust. Okay? So, first thing we needed to do was figure out fair or unfair. All right, you had to make that choice. And once you did, you then had to write 2 peel paragraphs. So let's do a quick refresher on what peel stands for. So P is our point sentence, right? This is our reason. You know what? I'm just going to type. We're going to get rid of this, and we're going to type it out. So this is our reason. So for example, Hammurabi's Code was just because the rules were fair for everyone. Okay? There's our point sentence. That can go away. Now we have our evidence. So what we need to do is we need to find a piece of evidence that proves our point. So let's go with Law 196. According to Law 196, it states, comma, quotation, because we want to remind the reader that this is not our words, but we are taking it from a different source. If a man knocked the eye of a free man, knocked out, whoops, of a free man, his eye shall be knocked out. End the quotation. And why do we end the quotation? Because we're letting the reader know. We're letting the reader know that we are done using other people's words and we're going back to ours. Okay? So then we need to explain and elaborate. So what does that mean? That means we need to tell the reader or explain to the reader what the evidence means in our own words. Remember what I tell you all the time. Imagine you are trying to explain Hammurabi and Hammurabi's code to my 4-year-old son. He doesn't know anything about Mesopotamia. He doesn't know anything about Hammurabi. It is your job to make it clear. So, we need to explain what the evidence means in our own words, and then we are going to elaborate on how it proves our point. So, we start off with our go-to sentence starter. This evidence means. Then we explain what the evidence means. If a person punched someone and knocked their eye out as a punishment, you would, not you specifically, the person who knocked the eye out would have his eye knocked out. Boom. We've explained what our evidence means. Now we need to elaborate. This proves that Hammurabi's code is fair or just, because we're historians and we're going to use those big words. Just isn't a big word, but whatever. Because the punishment fits the crime. Okay. We've explained and we elaborated. Now we need to do the most important sentence in the Peel paragraph, the link. I don't know who would punch somebody so hard their eye would fall out. Things happen. All right? This is ancient Mesopotamia. Link, the most important sentence. Our go-to sentence starter. As you can see, Hammurabi's code was just because the rules and punishments applied to everyone. Bam. Perfect Peel paragraph. All right, so you wrote 2 of these, right? You chose 2 different laws. You chose 2 different reasons. You explained and elaborated on your evidence, and you proved your point. Well done. Okay? So, your test for red, orange, and yellow, you guys tested on Thursday. Green and blue, you tested today. I will hopefully, knock on wood, have these done by next week sometime. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully next week. There's 104 of you that I have to get through. So it might take a little bit of time. I apologize. All right? So if you want to know how you're going to be graded, you can go onto the assignment. So I'm going to bring that up right now, and I'm going to show you the rubric right quick. Here we go. Here is your rubric. All right? You'll notice you're being graded on your organization. Do you have a well-written Peel paragraph? Your evidence. Did you cite it properly? Your elaboration? Did you explain and elaborate on your evidence? Or did you just do one of them? Or did you do none of them? Last but not least, your conventions. Your syntax. Your punctuation. Did you do what you were supposed to do? Did you put a capital at the beginning of every sentence? Did you put a period at the end of every sentence? Did you use your comma quotation mark before quoting your evidence? I don't know. But we're going to find out. Sorry. Getting text messages. Anyway, that is your ancient Mesopotamia unit in review. Yes, it was a little bit slow or quick, depending on how you look at it. But we made it. Excuse me. Let me grab a drink. And that means we start our next unit fresh next week. I do have a little surprise for you on Monday. You're welcome. But on Wednesday, big day, next Wednesday, because we're live streaming. Me, Mrs. Classy, Mrs. Donovan, live streaming the lesson, the Ancient Egypt introduction. It's going to be awesome. All right? There's going to be links posted. There's going to be activities to do. It's going to be awesome. So make sure that you show up on Wednesday ready to watch and learn. All right, friends. Unfortunately, my time is up, but I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Get some rest. Recharge the batteries. Come back on Monday because you know Rosten is bringing the heat in social studies next week. Be kind to one another. Peace be with you and with you. Rosten out.